Welcome to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network with your hostess, Jen Josie. Join like-minded real estate investors and accelerate your business towards greatness. You will hear step-by-step strategies for success, interviews with real estate rock stars, and we will dig deep into past projects where we bear it all, including the good, the bad, and some just plain ugly. So get excited. Here's the bestower of badassery herself, the real Jen Josie. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm Jen Josie, creator of RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Whoop, whoop. On today's episode, we have a guest that will be sharing their badassery. But before we begin, here's today's badassery bestowment. My little badass gift to you. Today's topic is the importance of structuring your business with the proper LLC. RAIN Nation, let's talk about something that's not sexy, but straight badass business ownership, getting your entity structure right. Because if you're out here doing deals, signing contracts, hiring contractors, taking private money, and collecting rent, but your business is not structured properly, you're basically building wealth with your front door wide open. An LLC is not just a box you check to say you have a business. The right LLC structure helps protect yourself, stay organized, look legit, and scale without everything being held together by vibes and a Google Doc. Here are 5 reasons why structuring your business with a proper LLC matters. Number 1, it protects your personal assets. When you run your deals personally, you're putting your personal finances in the line of fire. The right LLC structure can create separation between you and the business, so one bad situation does not automatically become a personal disaster. Number 2, it makes you look like a real operator. Lenders, partners, title companies, contractors, and private money lenders take you more seriously when your paperwork matches your professionalism. You don't have to be huge to be legit. You just have to be structured. Number 3, it keeps your deals and money organized. When every property, project, and expense is mixed together, it becomes a mess fast. A clean LLC setup helps you track what belongs where, keep cleaner books, and know what's actually profitable. Number 4, it sets you up to scale without chaos. Today, it's one flip. Next thing you know, it could be multiple rehabs, a couple rentals, maybe a short-term rental, maybe a joint venture. The right structure helps you add projects and partners without reinventing the wheel every time. Number 5, it forces you to run your business like a business. Proper structure creates better habits, separate accounts, clean contracts, clear ownership, and better decision making. And those habits are what separate hobby investors from real wealth builders. So RAIN Nation, here's the badass bottom line. The proper LLC is not about being fancy. It's about being protected, prepared, and positioned for growth. Get with a qualified attorney and tax professional. Get your structure dialed in so you can be the badass who does it right on the front end, so you can scale on the back end with confidence. Now on to today's episode of the Real Estate Investor Growth Network podcast. Today's guest is Steph Weber, branding and marketing powerhouse, short-term rental and micro-resort investor, short-term rental co-host, and the host of the Branded and Booked podcast. Steph is the CEO of the Weber Co., where she has helped over 100 small businesses scale into 6- and 7-figure brands. And now she's bringing the same brand building fire straight to the vacation rental niche. She and her husband also built a 6-figure co-hosting company in just 1 year. So she's not just teaching this stuff, she's living it in real time. And y'all, Steph's not playing small. Along with 3 other couples, she's building Cabins on the Cumberland, a micro-resort and event venue designed to deliver destination-level experiences that guests rave about and come back for. With 10 years of experience as a brand and marketing strategist, Steph brings a fresh, modern approach to short-term rentals and boutique hospitality, where branding isn't just pretty, it's profitable. It's my pleasure to have her on the show, so welcome, Steph Weber!
Thanks, Jen. I'm so stoked to be here. I love all your fun sound effects. It makes it so much more engaging and interactive. I love it.
Well, good. Thank you very much. I am a huge fan of yours. You are just kicking ass. And what are you, 12 years old?
I'm 33. I'm 33.
You are 33 years. Oh my goodness gracious. Well, I am a couple decades older than that. So anyway, I want to dive in here. Give us a little background on you. And I want to hear what pulled you into this kind of brand and marketing space.
Yeah. Wow. That's such a great question. So let me take you back. This is going to take you way back, but we're going to go there. So when I was 17, my parents were like, listen, we'll get you a car, but if you want to drive it, you're going to have to pay for your own gas. And they were going through a really difficult financial hardship at the time anyway. My dad, unfortunately, was closing the doors on a business that he owned. They filed bankruptcy on that business, which forced my parents to file personal bankruptcy. This was all while I was a senior in high school. And anyway, it was a crazy time, but I was like, well, I want to drive places, so I guess I'll get a job. So I found a job at a local boutique that sold prom dresses in the area where we lived. And so that started my background in the fashion industry when I was 17, and I was working the sales floor and very quickly became a manager in that business. And then when I went to college, I knew that I wanted to study PR and advertising. And my parents, again, were like, if you're going to go to college, you're doing it yourself. We can't help you in any capacity. We can emotionally support you and cheer you on, but that's it. So I worked 3 jobs and put myself through Butler. And I worked at that boutique in the financial aid office at Butler. And then I also taught dance. And then I worked at a photography studio. I did so many different things just to try to make ends meet and figure it out. But in that experience with the boutique that I was working with, when I graduated, they actually hired me on as kind of their general manager. And I was doing a lot of different things for them. I was doing branding and marketing for them. That's what I'd studied. And I remember having sat in a class, which was one of the most difficult classes I went through at Butler. And we were learning about branding. And everything in that class was just clicking. I was like, oh my gosh, I understand this. I understand that branding is emotional connection and it's lifestyle. And it's what they're selling you on, right? So that you feel this sort of connection to the brand. It's the perception. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this all makes sense to me. And so that was where that boutique was like, I think Steph can really help us with this. But I also was going on buying trips. When you work with a small business, you wear every imaginable hat possible. So that's really what I was doing. And honestly, it was super powerful for me to be able to be thrown into a situation like that because I got to learn a lot and do a lot of different things. But then when we started working with influencers in 2016 is kind of when my own personal journey with entrepreneurship really started, which was really powerful as well. Before that time, though, I had actually interned for one of our prom dress designers out in New York City. And this was in 2014. It was the summer of 2014. It was the coolest experience. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life. And they totally would have offered me a job. And I often think if I'm like, what would have happened? What would my life have been like if I took this job in New York City? Maybe I'd be working for Ryan Serhant at this point. Maybe I'm like, this is crazy. I don't know.
I do like his blue matte car, by the way.
I know.
Oh, I love that.
Wild. But anyway, but in 2014, I was sourcing bloggers, is what they were at the time, for that brand. We were working with bloggers and we created an ambassador program. So I've been around influencer marketing now for over a decade at this point. And that industry has evolved radically. But in 2016, the boutique I was working for said, you know what, maybe we should hire influencers to promote this line of everyday women's wear that we've just brought in. We had all of these really cute boutique dresses, and honestly, they were trying to figure out how do we float ourselves in the off season when it's not prom season, because we still have to pay rent and this is insane. So they brought in this new line of everyday women's wear. And so we started working with influencers. And I was like, hang on a sec. We are sending free clothes to people, paying them to promote on Instagram, and they're taking fun pictures in cool places. Like, this sounds like something I should probably do. So I created the brand Trendy and Indie, and which was actually something I had developed in college. But when I was doing it there, it was encouraged. It was encouraged by my sorority sisters. They were like, Steph, you always have the cutest outfits and you should start a fashion blog. And I was like, okay. Well, then it became a travel blog because I studied abroad, and then I dropped it. And anyway, picked it back up in 2016, and Trendy and Indie was born. And so I was a fashion, beauty, and travel influencer. I had a lot of different awesome collaborations with different brands, which we can talk a little bit about. And that's kind of where my journey as an entrepreneur started. And I didn't know at the time was the journey that would lead me into real estate, but it certainly did.
Well, I know the camera loves you because your photos are just amazing online. Or you must really have a great photographer as well. But curious, what sorority were you in?
I was an Alpha Phi.
Okay, I'm a Tri-Delt.
So. Oh, fun. I love
Yay. It. All right. So when did you, you really enveloped this whole influencer space, and you have this broad rimmed hat that you wear, and you really you stand out in a crowd, and it's no shock you were a dancer as well. So how did that transition into this short-term rental and then the boutique hotel niche?
Yeah. So as an influencer, I had the opportunity to work with the Andaz brand. So Andaz in Napa Valley, and then also on Wall Street, I worked with 25 Hours hotels over in Europe, Lark Hotels in Nantucket. I worked with the Bottle Works Hotel here in Indianapolis. I've worked with a couple of hotels in Nashville. So lots of different opportunities that kind of started in the travel space. I actually one time did this whole trendy travel week, and that was a segment that I did for my blog, which was very fun. And now looking back, I'm like, everything's so connected, and it's very cool to see how it all came to fruition. But in all of that work, Jen, and even in the work that I was doing with brands for clothing or brands for beauty, I always would ask, what makes you different? What makes you stand out? Why should I tell my audience to buy from you or to book with you or whatever it might be? And I was met with answers that just didn't connect. And I was like, there's a missing piece here, and there's a major gap. And this is a gap I understand and a gap that I can solve. And I just have to figure out how to do that. So in 2018, I was at New York Fashion Week and sitting front row in some runway shows, and had this collaboration with Andaz Wall Street, which everyone told me I would never get. And I was like, watch me, it will happen. And it was relationship building. I'm very, very good at building relationships and helping people figure out what they need and then serve that need. So anyway, all that being said, I was sitting there going, this is really cool, but I'm not living my dream anymore. I'm living a dream that doesn't feel like I own it. And I need to change that. So I shifted into starting to do consulting. I actually ended up hosting a conference for 150 women entrepreneurs here in Indianapolis. I planned it in 6 weeks. That was in February of 2019. But in between that time, Jen, I was an influencer, right? And this was November of 2018. And I was still working with brands, and that's how I was providing revenue through that business. I still also had a full-time job. I got locked out of my Instagram account. I went to go submit content for Pink, actually, for a collaboration with Pink, the Victoria's Secret brand. And I submitted that content, and a few minutes later tried to get into my Instagram account, and I was just locked out. The account was still there. I could log into it, or I could see it from my other accounts I was logged into, but I could not access the account. And I was like, what am I going to do? I had to refund people. I remember waking up. I was at a hotel collaboration, which is a cute little bed and breakfast here in Zionsville, Indiana. And I remember waking up in the middle of the night just sobbing, because it felt like this piece of my identity, this brand that I'd been building for the last couple of years, was ripped out from underneath me so quickly. And it was devastating in a lot of ways. And not just for me, but for our community as well, because I was so closely tied to the community here in Indy. And I think that this community felt that. It was a story on the 6 o'clock news. The first story on the 6 o'clock news one night, it was local woman gets locked out of her Instagram account. And I was oh, Jesus. My husband was like, this is mortifying. And I was like, it's fine. But it was a big deal, and whatever. It happened. It was what it was. But in all of that, I did get the account back, which was good. But I knew, Jen, at the time, I'm definitely one of those people that's I know that this is happening for a reason. It sucks.
Right.
And I don't know what the reason is, but we will have to figure it out. Well, that reason, that happening, is what led us to moving to Phoenix. And when we purchased our home in Phoenix, we purchased it for $297,000, and we sold it not even 2 years later for $415,000. And
Ooh.
that was our spark into being able to invest in real estate and really get started in our wealth building that way. So I couldn't explain all of that at the time, but that's what led us to that. So we moved to Phoenix for a job opportunity for me, made our way back to Indiana after we had kiddos, and I took the leap into the Weber Co. full time, and I pivoted from Trinity and India as an influencer to the Weber Co. branding and marketing agency. We also had a 12-month coaching program that I was running, and that's where I had all of those different entrepreneurs that I was serving, and in multiple different niches, which was really awesome. So great experience, and led me to where I needed to be today, which then, of course, we bought our first property, and I was like, oh, this is the niche that every mentor has said, Steph, you need to pick a niche. You guys cannot be the branding and marketing agency for everyone. Pick something. And fashion would have been the easiest thing for me to pick, but it was not where my heart was. I was like, I do not want to do fashion marketing anymore. So yeah, then in 2023, we invested in that first property and transitioned our whole life and world to revolve around real estate.
Oh my goodness. Well, Steph, I have to commend you because so many people in that situation would easily give up, and you have this constant drive, and you realized it was leading you to something better. I feel like obstacles are put there to direct us to where we are actually supposed to be. So I'm really have to commend you for doing that. So branding and all that, you were doing this as an influencer for fashion, and now you are applying it towards your real estate business, but you're also helping other people, specifically in the short-term rental space. So what do you see short-term rental owners do wrong? Let's start there.
I think the biggest thing, and I'm so glad I got to share the experience that I had with Instagram today, because that is a platform that we do not own. We do not have control over what happens with Instagram. And very similar to that is Airbnb. And so many short-term rental owners are just listing their properties on Airbnb and calling it a day and posting and hope it's okay, Jen. It's okay. You're going to change things up.
That's why I have you on this podcast. I'm learning from the best right now.
Yeah.
So
But you guys, like, we don't own Airbnb. And so whenever I hear short-term rental owners say, oh, I own an Airbnb, I'm like, no, you effing don't. Please stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Please stop. You do not. So it's really making sure that for me and my heart going, listen, you're building a business asset and you're building a hospitality business. And along with that comes making sure that you have the business assets in place, the branding, the marketing strategy. You're building the email list. You are building audiences that you own. You're building relationships with guests that you own, not another platform. And that is such a mindset shift that I think so many short-term rental owners need to make and haven't made, because to Airbnb's defense, I mean, they have provided something really great, and it is a really powerful platform, and they've done a phenomenal job of building their brand. But
absolutely,
not something we should rely on.
Yeah, trust me. Yes, I do know that firsthand. But you can still be listed on Airbnb to keep growing your personal. Okay, just I wanted the audience to know that. So
yeah, I never recommend like jumping ship. I always have to feel like I have to like preface my advice, because I'm not leaving Airbnb tomorrow by any means. But what I am doing is making sure that if a guest does come to us from Airbnb, they're being connected to our brand. They're being connected to Cabins on the Cumberland, and they know that they're staying at Cabins on the Cumberland. And then we're engaging that guest, not on the platform, but outside of the platform, and getting them on our email list. And so now we're marketing them directly.
And how does that happen? Because Airbnb has put in so many rules, and like they changed the phone number now for the guest. There's all these different hoops to jump through, because a lot of people are doing the same thing. But I recently met you at the Host Connect in Cary, North Carolina, where you were a speaker. And I think it was you who said guests are taking your photos from the Airbnb listing and doing it. Wasn't that you, where they do a search online and then they find you, and then they're wanting to book directly with you? So just tell the audience a little bit about that.
Yeah. So a couple of things that we do, because you are right. Airbnb obviously wants to keep everyone on their platform, and they do know that more people are exploring direct booking, especially since they've changed their host service fee, and they just keep making changes because this is what they can do. They own the platform. But all of that being said, We do this in a couple of ways. Number one is we make sure that in our listings, like for Cabins on the Cumberland, for example, it says, "Welcome to Cabins on the Cumberland," very first line of our listing. You're going to be staying at the campsite, cabin 4, or whatever it is, right? So we make sure that we've got that. That is probably one of the number one ways that guests are going, "Oh, this is a brand. This is a business. I'm going to go do a Google search for them." But the other thing that they're doing is they may screenshot a picture from your listing and go upload it into Google image search, and they're doing a reverse search for it so that you may have other options of where they can book with you. And they may be price searching, right? Like that might be a really price conscious guest or a guest who's just trying to validate the fact that you're legit and real. So, all of those pieces, but that's kind of on the listing side. Then when they actually stay with us, we're making sure to capture their email either through StayFi, which is that Wi-Fi access point that you can put in your property that people have to log into, and then you capture info that way. Or we do it through QR codes. I sometimes will talk to clients and they're like, "I refuse to use StayFi." And I'm like, I get it. Like we didn't put it in all 12 of our cabins either because the monthly expense on that would be insane. So would it be worth it? Maybe, but anyway, beside the point, we use QR codes and we have a scan to enter to win a stay with us. And that's super enticing for guests who have had a great experience. They're like, "Yeah, I do want to come back. If I can enter to win my next stay, why would I not do that?" So that is a great way to do email capture. Before Airbnb has made all of these phone number changes, we also were taking a look at guests who would leave 5-star reviews. And then we would personally text them and say, "Thanks so much for your stay. We're really glad that you had a 5-star experience. If you ever come back, please be sure to book direct and use this code." So we were also doing that, but obviously that's shifted a little bit. So the email capture is really probably one of the best ways to capture that info.
Yeah, and all of that with Airbnb, like now they delete past conversations because I've had guests, repeat guests for years now, and they're like, "Hey, we're coming back." I'm like, "Oh shit, I don't remember any," because I can't go back and now look at that whole conversation that we had. So, all right, I am the prime example here, Steph, of I'm on one platform. All my eggs are in the Airbnb basket. I am absolutely considering moving to a direct booking site. My concern is ID validation, chargebacks, damages. I really like to look at reviews to kind of reference to see if, these people are going to be okay. So how do you address those concerns?
Yeah, this is always a question that comes up with direct bookings. And to be honest with you guys, it should be a concern on the platforms too, because Airbnb is validating IDs, but you're maybe you are, maybe you're not doing that. If you're using something like Happy Guest, maybe you have an extra layer of protection even with Airbnb. But your guests, you guys have probably experienced this. We've had guests that have stayed with us that have all 5-star reviews and come to our property and it's horrible. It's not a good experience, right?
Yep.
So just because they have great reviews doesn't mean that every guest in that reservation that they're making with you is going to be great. So what I have found is that typically the guests who are booking direct with us are maybe a little bit more savvy. They also are maybe a little bit more committed because they're not just going to a platform to book. They have found us in some capacity,
Gotcha.
right? So I think it's honestly a different level of guests that we're getting that books direct with us. But to put some of those safeguards in place, number one, make sure you've got a really strong rental agreement in place. That is absolutely supportive and helpful. Number two, if you want to do some sort of ID validation and your property management software doesn't offer that, a tool like Happy Guest can allow you to do that. We use Hospitable's Direct Premium Plus option or whatever it's called. So we take the calendar widget, we put it onto a custom website that we have built ourselves. And then when guests go to book, they have to submit their ID and a selfie. And so Hospitable goes through this sort of verification process that will double check that. I think there's some level of background check or something that's involved there as well. So it will tell us if there's a risk factor or if the billing address doesn't match the address that's on the ID or things like that. So it gives us some of those pieces. I think chargebacks are a concern that you have to be worried about no matter what. I mean, we've had them on VRBO. I haven't had them directly, knock on all the wood around me, but we've had them on VRBO for sure that we've had to deal with. So this is a business where you're going to deal with liability. The more safeguards that you can put in place, the better. Rental agreements supportive with that. You also could do like a damage protection program if you really wanted to. This is not something that we've implemented, but there are platforms like Wavo or Safely that
Oh,
allow you
wow.
to collect a certain dollar amount from every reservation and kind of keep them in your little bucket. So if something does happen, you've got that as a backup option. But I think that the rental agreement honestly helps us more than anything because it weeds out guests who are going to be super destructive. They're like, yeah, I'm basically signing my life away right now. We're not going to cause chaos in your property. So I don't know. But again, like things happen. This is the nature of doing business, and you do have to be somewhat prepared for that.
Steph, what I'm so excited about making my own site is not having to kiss some of these guests' ass and for that 5-star review. Honestly, like that is number one. So literally last night I was in bed. It is about 9:30. Yes, I like I said, I'm 2 decades older than you. It's about 9:30 and my phone starts buzzing and my guest at my beach property is saying, "Oh, it says that no pets are allowed, but I think the guest before us had a dog because there is dog hair everywhere." I was that guest, by the way. I was there. They were doing sand replenishment, and owners are allowed to bring their pets. But anyway, I had it covered, the sofa covered, and everything. And I vacuumed, and I still paid my cleaning team to go in. But I have a golden retriever, which is like leaves his hair dust everywhere. So I immediately for me, because my fear is losing that 5-star review. So I sent her $100 she went out and bought like a Swiffer, and I'm like, there's one in the front closet, by the way. And so I'm like, let me pay you for that. So she sent me the receipt, but it was like $22. But I sent her $100 via Venmo. So she immediately had that instead of going through Airbnb and giving a refund of any. I wanted her to have money just to keep her happy. So for me personally, I can't wait to not have to. I mean, I'm still going to provide a 5-star experience, but just that whole fear, because you have some of these assholes who come out here and just like, I found a hair, and but anyway, so that's what I'm doing now. I am convinced, trust me, I'm convinced. I listened to all of you speakers on stage at this conference and I wrote down lots of notes, but just having that website for direct bookings, what do you have to do beyond it? What's the next step to promote yourself? Are there better channels to advertise? Where do I go from there?
Yeah. So the strategy that we put in place, number one, your website needs to be SEO, like search engine optimized, right? So SEO is an important piece of your website strategy. If you have built your website on a property management software, I can absolutely tell you that it is not. It is not built. It is not SEO built for SEO or built with SEO in mind. It's also not built with marketing in mind. So the biggest mistakes that I see in this industry, number one, is having a website that has no kind of opt-in. So if a guest lands on your website, they may or may not be ready to book that exact same day. They may be exploring, they're still evaluating, they're in that decision-making process. And I can 100% bet you that if you don't keep your brand top of mind, they're going to go elsewhere. So you've got to have that email opt-in on your site so that you're capturing them and then you're sending them through a series of emails that encourages that booking decision, builds the brand trust that's needed to make the decision, right? So that's piece number one. And then piece number two is not taking into consideration on the website SEO and now also AI search. And we are going to see this change drastically over the next couple of years in terms of how AI actually supports people in being able to plan their vacations, book their stays, etc. And if your website is not built for this and your website's not ready for it, there is a big technical part on the back end of your site that you have to have so that LLM, which is what AI uses to basically crawl your site and pull information from it to put in front of people who are doing these AI searches, if that's not there, your website is basically going to be irrelevant.
Very, very good. So what about social media? What does social media play in your direct booking site?
Social media is an incredibly important strategy if you are going to make the time and potentially monetary investment into making it work. I always remind hosts, like there is a level of, is social media worth it for me or is it not? For us, for Cabins on the Cumberland, that was a no-brainer because we knew that we were going to be selling this business as a business asset, and having our Instagram account and having our email list is going to help add to the valuation when we exit that business. So that was a no-brainer for us. We also see direct bookings come in all the time from people who are like, found you on Instagram. I'm following you on Instagram, or I heard about you from this influencer. So it's absolutely worth it. But in some capacity on social, you're going to pay to play. And that looks like a few different things. Number one, you're going to pay for really great lifestyle video content. Do not go and share your listing photos on Instagram. It's not going to help you. Number two, you're either going to pay for ads or you're going to hire influencers or a combination thereof. And you may also be paying for somebody to actually do your strategy. So at this point in time, people are like, well, is it actually even worth it then? And this is where it's like, that depends. If you are growing and scaling your portfolio, yes, absolutely worth it for you. If you are building a micro resort or a boutique hotel, this is a non-negotiable for you. But if you have one property and you're like, I love this property, it's great. If we have email marketing in place and our website in place, we will probably do okay. I mean, we have a client, for example, right now who she hired us to build her brand. She's got 2 properties. Well, she's got a few properties, I guess now. She's bought another one, but they're in North Carolina and Florida. And she hired us to do her branding and to do her website and to do her email funnels. Within literally the first 14 days of us getting all of that live, she had 2 direct bookings come in, which was huge for her. I mean, that was like thousands of dollars for the price point that she charges in direct bookings. And she's like, wow, okay, I see the value even in just having good SEO and also making sure that I have my email marketing dialed in. She's not on social. She's not spending all of her time on social, but she's still seeing direct bookings come in as a result of that. I think the thing we have to keep in mind with these strategies as we're thinking about building this business and building the direct booking is that it's not going to be overnight and instantaneous like Airbnb is. And I think that's where like some resistance comes into play for short-term rental owners, but still essential, still necessary, depending on what your journey is.
Absolutely. And like me, I'm going to gradually get into it. But as I said before, I have a lot of repeat guests, and I'm sure they would love to save, those extra fees that Airbnb puts in there by booking with me directly. So you mentioned influencers. So I get inquiries all the time on the Airbnb platform saying, I'm an influencer, and if I stay at your place for free, I can promote it here. Okay. I'm calling BS. Thank you. I'm calling total BS on that because I'm like, nah.
No.
But you are just talking about people who have the following and you reach out to them. So an influencer should not be reaching out to you directly. So just touch on that because you are
typically an influencer they may reach out on the Airbnb platform directly, but what I have found to be true is that most of those inquiries are not legitimate influencers. They're people who are looking for free stays who say that they can do all of these things. And where I think where people fall into this trap is it's like, oh, like my property can get in front of people. And if you don't have the knowledge around influencer marketing, then you don't really know. You know what I mean? So I always am in the heart of going, okay, let me educate you on influencers and like how to actually source them, find them, vet them, make sure they're legitimate, and make sure that they have a target audience that's aligned with yours. And this is where it's like, we have to go back to your brand because you have to deeply understand who your target audience is before you can ever hire an influencer to promote your property, your story, the lifestyle you're selling. I have to know all those pieces before I can source an influencer for you. Otherwise, you source the wrong people and then you're frustrated by the lack of results. And it's no one's fault but your own. So take accountability. But really just have a good strategy in place. Influencers are absolutely worth it. It's like a $23 billion industry or something insane.
Oh,
there's a reason for that. It's because brands know that it works really well. And the vacation rental industry just hasn't figured out how to master it. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Those mom talk ladies like sucked me in hard too. And with everything anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But yes, I can absolutely see the benefit of it. So I want to shift here and talk about cabins on the Cumberland. And before we get into it, you own this property with, is it 2 other couples or 3 other?
Three other couples. Yep.
3 other couples. So 8 of you. And a lot of times on this podcast, we talk about partnerships. So can you just briefly touch on how you have a partnership with these other couples and how it's working, how you make it work? What do you have structured so that there's no finger pointing or things like that?
Yeah. So I'm very thankful that our other partners are They're just good people. They're good people.
Nice.
And what you spoke about at the beginning of this episode with the LLC formation was super important for us too, in terms of how we structured our partnerships. And there's all different ways to do this, as I have learned in the last few years of us being in this industry. But for us, our partners are my CPA and her husband. And they heard about this as I was sharing it on Instagram and the opportunity. Also,
Smart partners, by the way, to get a CPA on
I
the deal.
always am like, have a CPA in the deal. Like, have somebody who can handle the finances, because it's great. Then we also have our team members, Dax and Valerie, and they actually owned the land and built the cabins as well. So they were the owners of the land. They're the ones who posted on Facebook that they had this piece of land, and I was connected with them. And then Kate and Cam, and I found them inside of a short-term rental mastermind program, actually, that we were both in. So when I started talking about this and sharing about it, they were one of the couples who reached out and they said, we're kind of interested. So we formed an LLC in our partnership, and every couple is a 25% partner. So every person individually owns 12.5%. Is what that looks like for us. And what we did, Jen, was we just established roles from the very beginning of like, what was everyone's role in this, and what is this relationship going to look like ongoing, and what's everyone's goals? Everyone, like, our operating agreement states that no one is taking draws for the first 5 years. There are certain things that we've got in place there, and who makes decisions and who signs and all of those pieces. And if we have to spend money, what's our threshold for having to go to the team and take a vote on it or whatever it might be. So I think we structured it in a way that worked for everyone, and everyone knew what they didn't want to do as well. Like, none of the other partners wanted to manage. None of the other partners wanted to be involved in that side of things. And I was like, okay, cool, I can handle that. So yeah, I think we just got clear on what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. And that was super helpful for us with this partnership. I do feel like there have been so many learning lessons and some like tough, hard moments that we've all had too, especially as we were at the end of construction, and it was like, we just need to get it done. We need to actually start seeing some money come into the bank and not just leave our bank account every month. So there were moments that it got intense, and everyone just had to kind of come together and work through those moments. But again, I think I'm fortunate that I have entrepreneurial minded partners, and that's super helpful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I coach students, I coach real estate investors. And one of the things that I tell them is, even if your husband is your business partner, you nailed it, the assigning of the roles. And that's where that keeps people in their own lane. Like, all of our roles are broken down to who's checking the PO box, who's picking up the mail, who's turning on utilities when we buy a property to flip. So everything is just spelled out so it runs smoother. Even if you share a toothbrush holder with this person, you still need to really divvy up those roles. So thank you for mentioning that. Now, let's talk about the fun stuff. Tell me about Cabins on the Cumberland. This is going to be a micro resort, which is a buzzword that I've been hearing a lot lately. It's a personal goal of mine to recreate a couple years ago, I found this place in Western North Carolina, and I think it's about 7 acres, and it's all fenced in, and there's a little pond in the middle, and there's like 7 or 8 cabins around, and it is dog friendly. It is promoting to dog owners, and each cabin has their own little fenced in area in case your dog's being a jerk, but your dog can roam free throughout the whole place. They can go swimming in there. But Steph, they had box TVs. They had physical keys to enter. I'm like, what is happening? So this, again, years ago, and I'm like, I want to recreate something that's so much better than that. And I still love the whole dog idea. I don't have 2 gorgeous little boys like you do. We are dog parents and cats. There was 2 cats there too, but so that has just been a lifetime goal of mine. And so when I heard you were speaking at this event and talking about micro resorts, I'm like, oh my gosh. So tell me what goes into it. You found the land. Do you have to run electric to it? I know one thing is with drilling wells and doing septics and all this other stuff. If you have raw land that you're dealing with, concepts. Just tell me everything, and I am going to be a sponge and learn as much as I can from you.
Oh my gosh, Jen, this is probably more than we have time for. I could literally do a whole podcast with you on this, but I'll give you guys kind of the quick rundown of how Cabins on the Cumberland came to be. We found this deal through Facebook, through a mutual connection, and then I started talking about kind of my vision for it and sharing that, which is how we found our partners, because I was talking about this on Instagram and on Facebook and just asking questions and trying to figure it out. So yes, when we found the land, it was raw, but it was ready to be built upon. And so the builder, Dax, was like, listen, this was August of 2023. And he was like, I'm going to start building this first cabin. So if everyone's in and we're committed to figuring this out, great. I'm going to start the work on this, because he was ready to go. And he had a group of guys who were like, we're ready to go. And they wanted to get paid, obviously. So the great thing about the piece of land that we had with the cabins is that it was on city water, which was huge for the rural area where we are. So we didn't have to worry about the well and all of that. We do have septic systems, but we have a different septic system for every single cabin, which honestly I think is a good thing. We could at some point in time, if we wanted to exit and like sell these off individually, we could do that. And it is zoned that way as well. So a lot of that kind of grunt work that I didn't want to deal with was definitely already done for us. The things that we've kind of run into, we ran into an issue with Wi-Fi. The internet company was like, oh, this is a development. Well, we're going to charge you $15,000 for the install. And we weren't expecting that, because they go and install this for free at single family homes in the area, which these technically are single family homes. Anyway, it was a whole thing, but our builder saved us on that one. And he was like, no. So he spent 2 days of his time digging trenches and laying the conduit and doing all the things, which was great. And we've had learning lessons in terms of just the growth of what Cabins on the Cumberland is now. So we have an indoor game center. That wasn't part of the initial plan. We got a 12th cabin, also wasn't part of the original plan. So it's grown. The partnership has allowed that to grow, which is great. And the bank that we have worked with is a local bank, and they've supported the deal as well, because they believe in the vision and what it does for the community. Also, we're right on the river. So it's a really beautiful property for fishing. It's actually one of the best spots to fish for trout in the nation.
Wow.
We had a guest the other day who left us a note in our guest book, and it was grandpa, dad, and grandson. And grandpa wrote it. And he was like, this was my grandson's first fishing trip, and he caught 10 trout while he was here. And I was like, see, that's awesome. A lot of people go on their first trip and don't catch a thing. And that's not the case ever at Cabins on the Cumberland. So it's really cool. It's a special place that we've built. There's so much that goes into the management and the build and all of it, but we have an awesome boots on the ground team. And it's something that, like, this is a way that I want to continue to scale what we're doing. And it also serves my skill set in branding and marketing too. It's very aligned. So yeah, we've had some full buyouts and church groups that have stayed. We have a bride who's coming to stay with us this weekend to check it out, to see if she wants to host her wedding with us. So lots of cool opportunities. And we just finished construction in October of 2025. So this is our first peak season with everything done, which is exciting.
So explain what a micro resort is, because we just dove right in. So tell the audience what that is.
Everyone is going to have a different definition of this. And I've heard some hoteliers be like, micro resort is not even a term. And I'm like, okay, well, it is in this boutique hospitality landscape. In my opinion, a micro resort is a piece of land or a space where you have multiple units that can host a certain number of people, or however many people really. I guess I don't really know what micro means in terms of guest count. But for us, it's very much about creating a destination in and of itself. So you have all of these different on-site amenities that your guests have access to. You have these, like, this very intentional experience that's curated around this. So it feels less like I'm going to stay at this place and more like I'm going to experience this place. And I think that's the big shift, is you're creating experiences beyond just units to sleep in.
Well said. And can an individual rent an individual unit, or you have to do, because you said full book outs, or I forget what term you said.
Yeah, full buyouts. Yes, they can rent individual units for sure, but you also can do full buyouts with us. So we sleep up to 72 guests. So if you want to host your wedding, if you want to host a retreat, if you want to bring your church group, you can do all of those things with us, which is awesome.
So what if you have like 3 properties booked in July, and then someone comes along and they want to book the entire place? What are you going to do about those 3 that are there?
We haven't had that experience yet,
Okay.
Jen, so that's a good question, and I'll be honest, I don't know. That would definitely be we'll have to figure that out when it comes, but usually if we've got bookings on the calendar, we're not gonna move. We're not gonna move people. Like, it kind of is what it is. More than likely, like you gave the example of July, we're gonna be full in July anyway, so for
Right.
us, it's, like, not a big deal. The full buyout opportunity for us, I think especially will help us in our off seasons, like our slower times of year, but during our peak seasons, we're gonna be booked anyway. So we'll see.
That is well said. Do you have management on site?
We have our cleaning team on site and they're great, but we manage from afar. So we're the
Okay.
managing team on it. And we live 4.5 hours from the cabins. So we're not on site, but we also have our like maintenance team members that are down there nearby too.
And so when you mean your cleaning team's on site, they're like staying there as well?
Sorry,
Oh,
no, they're just my, I should really not say they're our cleaning team because they're like our boots on the ground operations team. They do everything for us, but they live locally. So they live locally.
gotcha.
They're very committed to the cabins on the Cumberland Vision. They're awesome.
Very cool. Well, to wrap up this first part of the front part of this podcast here is you had a post recently where because you are the queen of your brand and you were eating dinner somewhere and people like randomly came up to you and because they recognized you. So tell that story really quick of because I think that ties in just the importance of branding and how it comes back to benefit you.
Yeah, my husband and I were out to dinner recently and here in Indianapolis, and we were sitting kind of near the front door. But what's funny is that I think he actually noticed my husband first because he saw my back, and Colin was like, "That was the first time I've ever been noticed first." But he walked by and then he like turned around and he looked at me and he came over to our table and he said, "I'm so sorry to interrupt you guys, but I just wanted you to know that I've stayed at one of your properties downtown Indianapolis. And I recognized you both from your picture on your website and from like your guidebooks and stuff. And I just wanted to stop and say hi and thank you." And Colin was like, "Oh my gosh, that's awesome. How was your experience?" And so forth. And he was like, "Oh, it was really great. Like we had an awesome experience and I'm thinking about doing short-term rentals." And so it was good. It was really cool that was definitely the first time, yes, that Colin has experienced that because I certainly have in this little small town of Indiana. But yeah, it was good brand recognition for sure.
That is huge. And so you have Branded and Booked, which is your podcast, but you also have a marketing VIP days, I think is what it's called, coming up. So tell us real quick what that's all about.
Yeah. So we are a branding and marketing agency for short-term rentals, boutique hotels, et cetera. So we do one-on-one work with clients all the time and done for you work. And that's like our highest way that we can serve you and support you. But we are getting ready to experience camper life and go on the road for the next year. So we are going to be traveling all over the States. So we're launching marketing VIP days where I will actually meet hosts on site at their properties, and we will do basically a marketing VIP day where we'll piece together various different parts of your overall marketing strategy. That may be email funnels, it may be social media content, etc. You will get all of the content that I take and record at your property so that you can take it and repurpose it for reels and so forth. And we'll be intentional about crafting that narrative and that story. So there's a little bit of upfront work in this. So there's that. And then also I will have those hosts on my Branded and Booked podcast on YouTube, on Instagram, and so forth. So good exposure for them because I also have an audience that are people who travel, which is awesome. So yeah, it'll be a really well-rounded experience, but that I have learned, Jen, that like in-person touch point is so important and so crucial. Yes. and very worth it. So I'm excited to launch those and roll those out.
And you're spending a year in a camper with your husband and 2 boys?
We are. Yep. We sure are.
My goodness. And you've done a little bit of that recently, right?
We tent camped when we lived in Arizona a lot. We camped almost every weekend, but we have not yet stayed in our camper. So we need to do that. That is definitely on the
That's
docket.
a whole nother podcast later on.
A whole nother podcast.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, we are going to quickly move to the second part of the podcast here, which is what makes Steph Weber a badass. And I use the acronym BADASS, and the first letter is B for book. What is a book that's made a huge difference in your life?
A book that's made a huge difference for me is Unreasonable Hospitality. Probably one of the best books I've ever read, and especially very relevant to this industry, but really thinking through the hospitality experience, which is what we're providing guests, and not treating guests like a transaction.
So important. All right, man. We didn't even touch on that kind of stuff. All right. The first A in badass is for advice. You've given amazing advice on this podcast, but I'm curious, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I would say two things. One is niche down. Every mentor was like, Steph, pick a niche. And I was like, no, I'm anti-niche. Like, I don't want to do that. But leaning into this boutique hospitality space has been unreal for me and so valuable in ways that I can't even explain, which is awesome. I would say the second thing is learning how to, this wasn't necessarily a specific phrase, but as an entrepreneur, you have to really learn how to trust yourself or how to trust in something bigger than yourself or a combination thereof, because things are going to happen and you're going to be met with challenges and brought to your breaking point. So you have to be ready for that and embrace it fully for what it is.
Absolutely. And we didn't even talk about all the boutique hotels and stuff. I was going through your website and I was like, that is just gorgeous. A lot of the stuff that you've been working on. So, all right. The D in badass is for drive. What drives you to be successful?
What drives me? I think the obvious answer here is like people will say, oh, it's my kids. And that's definitely a part of it, Jen. But you know what it is? It's the lifestyle that I want to experience for myself and for them. So for me, it's about true entrepreneurial freedom, which a big piece of that is location freedom and being able to go where we want and experience life in the way that we want to. And I think that that's a really important component for us and what we're building.
Absolutely. All right. The second A in badass is for aspiration. I'm a big goal setter. So what is a goal you are currently working on?
One of the reasons that we are doing Camper Life is so that we can find a campground to convert. And I have a very large vision for what I want that to be and what I want that to turn into, but it will definitely be more luxury oriented. And so kind of building something in the luxury hospitality sphere is what I want to focus on, but it has to be in nature. There has to be that outdoor nature element. I think before this podcast, we were kind of talking about, we didn't get into this on the podcast, but AI. And I think that AI gives us, in some cases, this really disconnected sense of reality. And for me, I'm always about what's real and what grounds me and what brings me back. And it's always nature and being outside and literally just putting my feet in grass. And that is what I want people to experience. So that's what we're looking for in our next big investment / project.
As you're saying, putting my feet in the grass, I was saying it in my brain as you said it. So, all right. The first S in badass is for systems. I'm sure you are very systems organized here. So what systems do you have in place to help you achieve success?
The best systems that I have are actually people, Jen, honestly.
Yep.
People that help keep me accountable, VAs that help support us in execution because I can't be all things to all people, VAs that communicate with our guests and live out our core values for our co-hosting and management side of things. So people are the biggest ways in which I leverage systems. And of course, there's so many different ways in which they're supported by actual like tangible SOPs and that kind of thing, but people for sure.
Huge. All right. I could talk to you all day. The final S in badass is for success. What does success mean to Steph Weber?
Success for me means being able to look back honestly each day and feel like I fulfilled a piece of my purpose that day and feel like I am doing what feels good and also what feels purposeful for me. That's a big part of who I am and a big part in the way in which I make my decisions. I used to define success and monetary goals, Jen, and I don't do this anymore because for me, it's not about that. It's about how I feel. It's about the life that I get to live. It's about the experiences I get to have with my family. And so success for me is if I've been able to do those things. If I've been able to do those things and I have $0 in my bank account when I die, that'll be okay with me. Like that will be fine. And my boys will be fine. They will be set up for success and they will also be successful. But I have to make sure that, again, while I'm here, I get to live every day. And if I don't do that, that I will not have fulfilled my purpose.
Absolutely. And I do enjoy following you on social media and see the experiences you have. You're a big Disney fan, by the way. I used to work at Disney.
I love that.
Back in my college days, I went to school in Orlando. So whenever I see people like cheering on Disney, I'm like, yay. So Steph, before we sign off here, how does the audience find you if they have questions, if they want to have you pull up your camper to their business in the next year, how do they find you?
The best place to connect is the Weber Co. on Instagram. So you can come hang out there. Of course, you can go to theweberco.com too and see what we're doing and see client projects and so forth, which is a fun spot to be able to see those. But the Weber Co. is the best place to connect. We're also building our personal brand, Life with the Webers. So you're going to be able to follow along with our camping journey there and all of the things that we're doing with our boys.
And those boys are adorable. I'm a former school teacher, so I'm allergic to kids, but yours are adorable.
Thanks, Jen.
Steph, this has been such a great interview. Thank you so very much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. And that is all. Thank you for listening. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Now go out there and share your badassery. And don't forget, make it a great day. Take care. Bye-bye. Whoop, whoop.
Thank you for listening to RAIN, the Real Estate Investor Growth Network. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. If you need more badassery, you can follow Jen Josie by visiting therealjenjosie.com or become a member of RAIN by registering on rainmastermind.com.